What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Jacob and Me podcast show. I am the host, Richard Rodillo, joined by the man with the noggin, Jacob Bullard.
What up, what up, what up, what up?
How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing good.
Back at it again with these podcasts.
Yeah.
If you didn't know what the Jacob and Me podcast show is, it's where me and my friend Jacob here talk about anything and everything what we want in nerd culture, comic book culture, TV movies, and video games, and anything else we like to jerk off to. Also, we like talking about a little bit of sports in our undrafted opinion section, and at the very end, we get into some boring stuff like history and politics when we take a stroll down Pennsylvania Avenue. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about, mostly in our beginning segment of the show, and then we have a little bit of the MLB wildcard talk, and then some history, which you've done this week.
I have.
Which we held off from last week because of just all the weird stuff that's going on. But regardless, let's get into this. We don't have a game of the week, unfortunately, because we've only been playing FIFA. So
It's true. This is true. I'm going to go ahead and just go out on a limb and say that our game of the week is Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah, it comes out later this week. I forgot about that. Yeah. And then we'll be talking about that next week, probably.
Yep, probably. Very likely. Can confirm.
Yes. You said you're going to do new releases for the week. I can't read any of your, where's your new releases at?
They're down here on the bottom.
Oh, okay. Just video games?
Video games and movies.
Okay.
I didn't really feel like there were any television premieres that were worth talking about. There's like NCIS LA.
Isn't
The Good Place.
Man in the High Castle coming out?
It's not this week.
Oh, it's next week.
I think it's the same week that Daredevil comes out, which is maybe 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere along those lines.
Daredevil. Oh, I have to watch that. That's the only one I like watching.
I still haven't watched Luke Cage or Iron Fist, so I need to catch up. I'm behind.
Well, I watched Luke Cage season 1, Jessica Jones season 1. Didn't watch Iron Fist or Defenders.
Dust.
Or season 2, Jessica Jones.
Why even bother at this point?
Well, I just want to watch Daredevil.
Did you watch The Punisher?
Kind of.
There's the door. You can leave now.
Let's
Punisher
see.
was good. In any case, I'll
Sorry.
hit video games first this week, just because we'll have a nice segue coming up here shortly. Video games releasing today as of recording, October 2nd, is Forza Horizon 4. And also releasing today is Mega Man 11. Both of those are obviously... I almost said they were both multi-platform. Forza Horizon 4 is an Xbox exclusive. Possibly Xbox PC, or at least with the
Yeah, I was going to say. Josh is probably going to get
whatever
this game
it's called
for some reason.
Mega Man 11, somewhat. Dang, my phone's going off right now. Got all the emails. My phone does this sometimes. It like refuses to like connect to the internet sometimes. At least with the Yahoo app, and then like it finds the internet all of a sudden. It's like, here's all these emails. Take them.
That's Samsung for you guys.
Yeah. No.
Got you say yeah.
In any case, Mega Man 11 and Forza today, the 2nd of October. And then at the end of the week, Friday, October 5th, is both Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which has been getting very, very good reviews so far. And also that same day is Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
That probably didn't pick up on the mic, but whatever.
I thought it was more of like a...
No, it's definitely a snap. You don't watch any of their Nintendo Directs, so
I felt like it was like more of like a click.
Well, it's because they do like a digital sound, but like
okay.
the like
Oh,
it's a snap.
Oh.
They all snap.
I've seen
like
them do that,
switch.
but I thought it was a click. That was the noise, not the snap.
No.
Sorry.
It
snaps in place though.
Like I said, nothing really interesting in the world of television. I'm just gonna ignore that. And in movies this week, 2 somewhat high-profile releases. The first being, can I help you? The first being A Star Is Born.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
With Bradley Cooper and the debut for Lady Gaga. Is this her first ever movie?
Movie. I know she was in American Horror Story.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. But I think this is her first like motion picture.
Maybe I would have to double check. I wouldn't be surprised if she's been in something like a really small role.
Okay.
But yeah,
like cameo level sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is our segue. Also releasing Friday, October 5th, the can you call this movie highly anticipated?
I don't think anymore.
That's kind of true. Tom Hardy and Venom is releasing from Sony Pictures Studios. Releases Friday, October 5th.
Yes, it does.
And so that is actually our first topic for the first segment of our show. It's going to be Venom. Not getting good reviews at all from the early press showings. I've heard it compared to Affleck's Daredevil. I've heard it compared to Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Damn.
So things not looking good. And Tom Hardy himself was kind of botching the press tour. He was talking about how like the favorite things of the movie from him were cut, and then he had to go back and stutter through. He had to walk back those statements through this like stuttered interview of him trying to like figure out what he was supposed to have said the first time.
Lose that money.
Right. Yeah. So definitely stumbling out of the gates for Venom. I personally kind of felt like this movie was dead on arrival. Like it was never really going to be anything. It's not like Sony gave Spider-Man to not gave it to Marvel, but like agreed to let them have Spider-Man. And there's, to me anyway, there is no point of them trying to build any sort of anything with the Marvel properties that they have anymore, which is basically just Spider-Man and Spider-Man's villains.
Yeah. I was not really high on this movie. Even I think I was already skeptical when they announced it. But I was like, oh yeah, Tom Hardy. It's Tom Hardy. How can this be bad? We haven't even seen the movie, and like, I have like, well, we're gonna go see probably the movie this weekend. And as soon as I saw like the first part of the trailer, it was the first trailer, which was before we even saw like the first trailer. They didn't even have him in the suit at all, or whatever, the Venom, whatever you want to call it. And I was just like, oh man, it's not that I don't like Tom Hardy when he acts, like when he has that like it's in New York, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that accent, it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't feel believable. I think this might be one of Tom Hardy's worst performances we might see.
That's what it sounds like it's going to turn out to be.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have had a more reserved Tom Hardy, in a sense. Like, he's more quiet. Like, with the guy from The Sopranos, he was in a movie with him where...
Gandolfini?
Yeah, they were in the movie together. His like last movie they released, and he was like a really reserved, kind of like a big guy that you kind of just didn't really mess with, but also kind of everyone kind of mess with too, I guess, at the same time. But that kind of seemed like I was aiming for that kind of performance, or the guy from his performance in Lawless, something like that with Shia LaBeouf.
Okay,
remember,
yeah.
And Jessica Chastain. That kind of performance is what I was really like, what I wanted to see happen. And then once he has the Venom suit is where I want him to have kind of like the confidence come out. I don't want him to have the confidence before the suit is. And for me, I feel like I'm not sure how far like Venom and like how his original character is, but like to me, I think we're not making a movie or comic book movie in a way. We're making a movie here, and it's okay to play around with the character and not have to have him be the exact same all the time. And I think even with the last Venom, the guy from that 70s show that was playing him, like he was already confident before that. So, and then him getting the Venom suit kind of made him more confident. I feel like I get like you get someone that's kind of over abusing power, I guess. But I would have been nice to see a different Venom, to see someone that's a little bit more innocent in a way, and then to become Venom. I mean, he'll probably be innocent in the when the movie starts, but that's what kind of performance I wanted to see. But we're not going to get that, obviously, from just the trailer. And that was like the first trailer. Once I saw just the way it was like lined up, it just was not good. It didn't appeal to me. I think it was like, it seemed like unorganized. Like his interaction with like the villain or the guy that's creating all this kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like his interview with him, it was just super sloppy and unrealistic. I felt like I was just like, this is going to be such a turnoff. And as we're seeing it, and then as you said, I think last week where like they didn't have the embargoes lifted at all. Like we're gonna see one of like the worst comic book movie or superhero movies, which is that's like I said, it's a superhero movie or whatever you want to call it, but I don't like the approach of trying to make it like a comic book in a way, and like that's my problem with the DC movies is like they are trying to like they don't know how to adapt a character to the screen unless it's like the Nolan movies. But like Nolan was going for something like that's not the comics in a way. It was his own kind of creation, and I felt like the studio and the people that were producing this should have been able to have gotten the freedom from the studio to do that kind of work with this character, which could have they could have hit a home run with this, but I don't think that's obviously going to happen. And going forward, I don't have any faith in Sony Studios making another Spider-Man. I like anything related to Spider-Man, besides like obviously this movie, and I don't see him crossing over because I don't want this Spider-Man to be tainted by this at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, very similar last week when we were talking about Dark Phoenix. It seems like movies, so like Dark Phoenix and then now Venom, have to be very careful about how they just have to be very careful about how good of a movie they're putting out because they're so limited in scope as far as like creating a cinematic universe. Like Dark Phoenix is likely going to be the end of the Fox X-Men movies, and except for the New Mutants, and then Venom, like I don't really know what Sony's really trying to go for. I feel like their best option should have been to just kind of let Marvel make them money. Mm-hmm. Like Sony's sitting there printing money with all like Infinity War and Spider-Man: Homecoming and and Civil War. Like Sony doesn't have to do anything for.
Is this gonna be rated R now?
I don't think so. Okay. It's PG-13. I'm 99% sure it's a PG-13 movie. And yeah, it just from the early reviews, it's not been encouraging at all. I don't think there have been so many criticisms of Tom Hardy's performance. Like Tom Hardy's a good actor, but I think that like there's a lot of, from what I've read anyway, a lot of like tonal inconsistencies and like the way. Basically, the gist of it is that it's not as deep of a movie as comic book movies have become. Yeah. It seems like maybe it's just like a little bit behind the times.
Mm-hmm. So I would that's what I'm expecting. I mean, I'm going to have I was already going in with low expectations. This movie can somehow maybe get above, like I have really low expectations for this, so it might be able to get above that line. But regardless, it's not going to be a good movie. It's going to be below that already.
Yeah, unfortunately it looks that way. And like what you were saying about the embargo, like they didn't release the movie embargo for Venom ahead of time, really. So that's normally a pretty bad indicator that the studio themselves doesn't have faith in their movie as like a quality film, because they don't want the bad word of mouth to get around before the movie comes out and affect any box office numbers that they might be anticipating.
Yeah, so. Well, I think Tom Hardy's comments have already done that, but I think people are gonna go watch this movie to go see like a what's that movie, The Room? You see how bad it is, honestly. So I think they're still gonna make money off of this. There's just like people are like, okay, let me see. And like, most of the people that I see in my head and that are like that might like this movie are just gonna they just like movies. You know what I mean? They just like, okay, I got something out of this. Like for something like us, like we're probably not gonna get something out of this that we're gonna enjoy.
I don't even know if it's as bad as it appears to be. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know that I think that they might still make all them. I mean, we live in a world where Justice League basically broke even.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I think, well, probably, I would say they could probably do that, because I think there's a lot of dumb people out there. No offense, that would probably like, oh wow, I really like that. And I was like, well, okay, you know what I mean? Like those people that just like they like Transformer movies or they like the Fast and Furious, like they're going there for that, and like they're going for like the action, and they're not really going for like the story or the acting. You know what I mean? Just like the whole cinema,
just like a popcorn flick.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So yeah, let us know what you guys think. Comes out, I guess, Thursday night technically. Thursday night the 4th. Full release Friday the 5th. So let us know what you think of it going in. What you guys think of it right now. What you guys think of Sony trying to build up its own little cinematic Spider-Verse. And let us know once you guys see it, what you guys think of it.
You know what I just thought of right now? Because they're working on the next Spider-Man, right? And I think it's in the works that it's gonna be
4 or phase 5, whatever.
Yeah, Doc Ock or something like that. I don't know who they confirmed already, but I was like thinking in my head, I was like, I'd be okay with them doing the diversity thing, but like, I think a decent pick would be Forrest Whitaker
for Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I think he can pull off like him being normal, and then they put how they did with Spider-Man 2, and then they put that on. He can play crazy. I think he could pull that off. But that's just me. I don't know. That just popped in my head right now. I was like, why am I thinking of Forrest Whitaker right now? But yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Sorry.
So our next topic, staying in the world of cinematic universes.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars. And now the Lucasfilm anyway, or Disney Lucasfilm, whatever you want to call it now. They announced that they're going to be basically slowing down production of future Star Wars movies. So there's going to be more time between each. I don't know if episode is the right word. I guess we don't really know what Rian Johnson's trilogy is going to be like. If that's going to be episodes 10, 11, and 12, or if that's going to be like its own thing. But in any case, we're probably looking at now maybe like 3 to 4 years between each one of those, with maybe the occasional spin-off in the middle there, compared to the basically annual, because we had Solo this year, episode 8 was before that, episode 7, I guess there's 2 years, but there was another, was there not? Rogue One was between 7 and 8, so it's basically been annual since episode 7 came out. So, yeah, they announced that they're going to be slowing down. I think that they're really starting to feel the backlash. Although, did you hear there was a rumor going around that, like, the backlash for Star Wars Episode 8 was much worse because, like, Russian bots were spreading all the, like, bad news about Episode 8.
That makes sure that the timing of it kind of backs it up, but I
think that's ridiculously wishful thinking.
Yeah. Episode 8 was just a botchery. I mean, you even heard it with
Mark Hamill.
I was going to say Bill Hamill for some reason. I'm just like, wait, no, that's not his first time. But yeah, I felt like with what we're seeing with the Star Wars movies, I think Rogue One was like the best product they put out so far. I felt like from back to front, like everything seemed like it made sense in a way. Just the writing and, the acting and like the cinematics and all the things around it. It just felt like a more of a polished product than what they've been putting out. Episode 8 didn't seem polished. Seems like kind of like they might have winged it or something like that. And I know people enjoyed that movie, but I don't think you're gonna get the same satisfaction out of that, regardless. Too, what I thought was an interesting point, the guy, a political commentator that we like listening to, Ben Shapiro, was like, I had a good point on. They shouldn't have done the Rey thing or whatever. Not the Rey thing, but the Rey Finn, and like they shouldn't have picked off like 20 years later. They should have just did what they did with Solo and just recasted everyone and then went on from there.
Oh, you mean from like the end of episode 6?
Yeah.
I
think that might have been like a better decision because like those characters that we love, and I mean, yeah, people are like, oh, that's so like disrespectful or whatever you want to call it, or it's not like original, you know what I mean, that kind of feel. And it would be kind of weird, but I think that would have been like the best play for them to have, because you're introducing us with like new characters and then you're having like these other characters come in and out, and I think that would have, like, in my head right now, like when I hear that, I'm like, well, that actually sounds like a decent idea, because I'm personally didn't think Solo was as bad as what people thought it was and the ratings and whatnot. I think they did a better job. I think that movie is better than 7 and 8 for me. I think when we did our top 10 list, I had that up above all of them besides Rogue One. I think I have Rogue One up pretty high because I just really enjoy that movie. But it just seems like we're not getting, they're not giving them the certain amount of time as well. I think episode 7 got the right amount of treatment, but going from 7 to 8, I think the visions were wrong. I think maybe Abrams should have stayed on for 8 or something like that. It just didn't seem right.
And now they're going back to Abrams for 9.
Yeah.
I think that this is in general a good idea because it has been a little bit of rushed production. I think like basically since episode 7, everything's been on a 2-year production cycle. Which is somewhat quick. Which is not, it's not terrible, but it is somewhat quick, especially for something as important as Star Wars is. So I think I'll likely appreciate them taking the extra time.
Yeah, Rogue One got the green light like not too long after 7. So Rogue One had like a good amount of time to marinate, just like 7. But I think 8 and Solo probably didn't get the amount of time that they should have gotten. But like it doesn't make any sense why they didn't though. You know what I mean? It's like these movies should not be rushed out. Like if I think Disney is obviously looking at money, but I think the legacy of the movies are being tarnished by the way they are being released and kind of being put out there. I think similar to like The Hobbit, kind of in a way too. Like they have to get away from these timelines and more or less be able to put a product out that can stand. I think it's more important to stand the test of time than to make the money, because they're gonna make the money if they're gonna make even more money, I would say, if they do that.
Yeah. My mind totally went blank on what I was going to say.
I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Nope, I lost it.
Tacos. You're thinking about tacos.
I wish, yeah. I guess to what you said about like them starting straight from episode 6, I think that what they ended up doing with 7 was the safest option, especially like plot-wise, and like I think it's going to be bigger. You kind of grab everyone's attention if although I guess Luke's not really in that film, but like you bring like Luke, Leia, and Han back, I think that guarantees you more people showing up to the theater than it would be recasting everyone, I think. I remember what I was going to say now, because another thing that was announced recently about Star Wars was that they were giving Kathleen Kennedy, I believe if I remember correctly, it's a 3 or 4-year extension as the head of Lucasfilm. And what I was going to say to that was this was what was more worrying for me than them slowing down the pace. To me, is a recognition that they've made a couple of mistakes, and they're going to allow themselves the time to minimize the risks of making similar mistakes in the future, like allowing themselves, say, like an extra year for every movie. Like they can make sure that they have a good plan for the film, that they can shoot everything that they want to shoot in a timely manner, and not have any sort of rush to it. They have plenty of time for editing and testing's not the right word, but like screenings and stuff like that to like get a feel for how people's opinions of the film, stuff like that. What's more worrying to me is the renewal of Kathleen Kennedy's contract, because if you look at episode 7 with J.J. Abrams went off pretty smoothly. I don't really remember, I guess, too much of like the directing and producing of Rogue One, but episode 8, like the switch from J.J. Abrams to Rian Johnson, and then Solo had a whole bunch of controversy where they basically like reshot that whole film in the last like 3 months, right? Because Ryan Howard, I forget who was supposed to.
Howard, sorry.
I forget who was supposed to.
I think it was a Marvel guy or something like that. That was like a Marvel director, and then he dropped or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I forget what it was. But he stepped away. They brought in Ron Howard, and Ron Howard had like 3 months to make a movie basically. And I think given the time frame that they had to work with that, I think they did a pretty good job. But Kathleen Kennedy is the one responsible, I think, most of the time, or like is the most responsible for all of that sort of chaos behind the scenes. Like it's her job. She's basically like the Kevin Feige of Star Wars. That's her position, at least my knowledge of what she does anyway. And I think that Star Wars, since they rebooted it or like relaunched it, they've had a really hard time, I think, especially with the like Abrams, although I mean we obviously haven't seen episode 9 yet, but like they're lacking kind of the fluidity and continuity that you see in, for example, the Marvel Universe, which is also owned by Disney. There's been a lot of chaos behind the scenes at Star Wars, and Lucasfilm, and like Kathleen Kennedy is mostly responsible for that, and like everything that's gone wrong and all the, maybe it probably is just like a vocal minority that really didn't like episode 8. I feel like that it's a little bit more than that. I think there are a lot of not very vocal people that also didn't like episode 8. But to give her an extension is, in my opinion, like a stamp of approval on like what the last 6 years of Star Wars has been. And I personally don't like what the last 6 years of Star Wars has been. And so I was disappointed to see Kathleen Kennedy. Now, it's very possible that she, learns from the mistakes that have been made. But I also sometimes feel like she doesn't think mistakes have been made. And
Yeah.
Ryan, especially in my opinion, Rian Johnson doesn't feel like any mistakes were made. And I know that that's like episode 8 is like his film, but like the two of them are responsible for a huge division in the Star Wars fan base.
Yeah. That's another thing. I think because I've talked to people that have directed stuff and like people like not I mean I'm not in the business or anything like that, but like I've taken classes and stuff and I've had professors and whatnot and like challenging opinions and stuff, but it seems like a lot of people in the industry kind of like have it like one way, like their way, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. It's kind of like, in my eyes, I think it's kind of crazy in how they think that what they've done is good. And I get like it's like their take of it, but it's not a very good take. I don't know. I don't know what they can do. I think episode 8, 9 has to be really, really good. Is it going to come out next year at all, or at the end of the year?
Yeah, it's December of 19.
Okay,
is episode 9.
So we're gonna have to wait another whole year for. But I mean, that's fine. They were probably already in production probably earlier this year for that movie.
They've already started.
Yeah. So they probably are almost done shooting, I would guess, and everything's about to be probably in post for a while because that takes a long time.
Possibly, yeah. I know we've talked about this before. I lack confidence that they can do anything with episode 9 that will, in my opinion, save them from how terrible episode 8 was. But you never know. I just hope that everything flows well, like transitioning back to J.J. Abrams. And yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to stop making Star Wars movies. I don't think at this point. Not like they did before, where they just like where George Lucas kind of just walked away from it twice, really.
I have a problem with you just look at 8, and I have a sister. I have a couple sisters, or more than a couple sisters, but I had a couple sisters, and my stepdad will sit down and watch this with me, and they know like I'm like the one that knows like everything about all nerd culture and whatnot. I've never had a movie where all three of them were asking me so many freaking questions about what was going on, and like they didn't understand, and I had to explain it to them, and we had to rewatch some scenes. Like I've never had a movie, I don't think, in the past, like ever, where they've had to ask me so many questions. I think Carly had to stop the movie like 3 times from when we watched it together. She was like, "What just happened?" Like I remember when Obi-Wan, like especially that was like a big one. She was like, "Where'd he go?" I was like, I don't even know. I don't even know. He does. Yeah, I guess he's dead. I guess I don't know. He went to the Force. So
oh, you mean Luke? No,
Luke. Did I say?
Yeah, you said Obi-Wan.
Oh, sorry. My God. Sorry, Luke. That's what I meant. My bad. Sorry. Same thing with him. But like it was just like, Carla, I don't have an answer for you. Like there's a lot of just stuff that was like that, and that's like, I don't know if that's a good sign, or you know what I mean. It's not good to not be able to explain stuff to people, and like there's probably an explanation for that, but I don't think it's a good enough explanation.
Yeah. So anyway, let us know in the comments down below what you think of how you would rate your Star Wars experience thus far over the last 5 or 6 years. What you think of their decision to kind of slow down the pace of the movie, of the production schedule anyway, and their decision to give Kathleen Kennedy an extension to her contract as head of Lucasfilm. So let us know what you guys think down below.
Yeah, I definitely want to see an Obi-Wan, an old Obi-Wan, and then
Ewan McGregor said that is not in the plans.
I know, but I still would want to see him
recently, which broke all of our hearts.
That role. I think he was like the only good thing in those prequels, and then a Dark Maul movie.
Nah.
Okay, the prequels were just all bad then.
No. I think that there's better. I personally think the prequels get a bad rap.
Well, yeah, they do, but I think Ewan McGregor was the best part of the prequels.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then Dark Maul, I wanted to see him, and I don't know how that Solo cameo was just like.
Spoilers for Solo.
Yeah, sorry. Let's keep moving.
Let's do it.
What's next?
Our last topic in this first group. There were some rumors. This was coming out of Warner Brothers, correct? They're the ones that make the Harry Potter games.
Yes.
Harry
Potter.
Yeah. So there was some leaked footage, leaked gameplay of a Harry Potter RPG. It seemed
Dumbledore. Sorry.
Dumbledore.
Hermione. This is a Hermione one part. Yeah. There's like everyone.
Hermione.
Yeah.
Hermione. We found the source of the ticking.
No, and then the other stupid videos that Anthony likes and like Leviosa.
Oh yeah. Wingardium Leviosa.
Run. Put my clothes back on or something. Like, I forgot what he did, but like basically like that was funny. Harry.
So anyway,
sorry, yeah.
There is rumored to be now a new Harry Potter RPG. We attempted to find the footage, and it was blocked by Warner Brothers on YouTube, correct? It was like a copyright. Was it a copyright claim against that video?
Well, I searched for it on Twitter, or not Twitter, on YouTube. I found it this morning on Twitter, but it was like watching, you know, when people videotape something at Comic-Con. And you like
potato phone kind of quality.
Yeah, but it wasn't terrible. Where you can like make out things. The little like thumbnails I was showing you, that was like the quality of the video. But I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's weird how they confirmed it like that, but it's cool because it was really early in the morning. But they since then, and then when we were about to start recording the other podcast, when I was showing you and I was trying to look up the video to like, and then I believe Warner Brothers have taken all that stuff down, which is a good sign in a way, because like they're like, oh crap, someone leaked this. But I don't know who's making the game for them. I'm guessing maybe it's a studio that's connected to the Batman stuff. I don't know who's developing this particular.
Well, Batman
game.
was Insomniac, right? Which just finished Spider-Man, so I would guess that it's probably not them.
Yeah, but there's been different studios that have worked on games for them for the Batman series.
Okay.
I think it was like Arkham Knight, I think was a different studio because that was like the fourth game in the series, and then the original studio that made the 3 moved on.
I think it was 2 and 1. I think Insomniac did 2 and the 1.
Okay.
Like probably not Arcane, but like something like that. It was like a smaller studio did the third one.
Yeah, because either that or the team that was working on the Lord of the Rings games, right? Because that's a Warner Brothers product as well, or IP.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if WB does the Lord of the Rings games.
Because from what I remember, I think they moved the Batman teams over to do that one as well. So that would make sense. But the game looked it looked like something I would want to try. I'm not too sure how good it's going to be. It's something I've always wanted. I've always talked to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
About like where you basically start their game right where the last movie ends, and you're like one of the kids in the train. What do you call them? The box, the thing you sit in.
The Hogwarts Express.
Yeah, but the things you sit in.
Oh, like the train car, or the cabin.
Yeah, the cabin. So like you end up in the cabin where Harry Potter's kids are and stuff. And
okay.
Yeah, and then that's where the game starts, where you talk to them. That would be like, that's like my ideal way of the start of the game, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Just the way it looked. But yeah, the customization and stuff, it looked very similar to like a Fable looking game in my eyes. Just the animations and stuff, the way you walked around. So I was like, okay, I wouldn't be fine if graphically it wasn't too real. It had more of a like too realistic, and it had more of a look of. Well, I mean, even like a BioShock kind of way, because BioShock kind of looks a little off from like actually looking real. You know what I mean? So something like that, or what was the other game I was gonna say? like a For Honor kind of looks like not too similar, but like, you know what I mean. It has that kind of similar kind of look. But that was like the look of the game. I really didn't see too much besides them holding like a wand and using magic. But it looked decent. I'm not too sure whenever they're gonna announce this. I mean, I don't know if they have some kind of expo coming up, or there's PAX just ended, so they didn't show that PAX probably, or maybe they did. Then maybe
no, I don't think so.
Because I mean, maybe it was the thing behind doors or something like that, and then someone, you know what I mean?
I guess that's possible.
Yeah. So I don't know where they got the footage from. I hope this is like a real thing. Like, I hope it's not like something that's totally fake or something like that, or someone. Because I think this has happened before with like a Marvel game and like a Star Wars game, where like it was like a fan-made thing, and then it ended up not being the game, or an actual thing. But the way it looks, like we've said that the Warner Brothers have, like on the actual screen for the YouTube video, it says like Warner Brothers have taken this down. So it was like, okay, that's a good sign that this is probably legit.
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah, I don't know who's making this game, and I have no idea when this game. I mean, the way it looked like it could come out like next year, like maybe fall or summer next year. I wouldn't, depending on what comes out in the fall next year. It seemed like it would be.
I would say it would probably be a good. Any game like this, I would say, is a good summer game.
Yeah, because I don't think in the
beginning, or even spring.
I wouldn't touch the beginning of the year. No,
not this year. This year is pretty heavy in the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, I think really the beginning of the year has been heavy for the last couple of years. So yeah, a good like summer game. I think, like you, this is something that I would definitely try. I think the only Harry Potter games that exist are just the movie adaptations.
Yeah, the Activision, I think, made those, I believe.
I'm not sure.
It's either that or like THQ or something like that. Because I remember you and Josh always got those games and borrowed them just to get the 100 gamer score.
The 1,000 gamer score.
That was 100.
Not the 1,000.
It's 1,000. Okay.
Yeah, max out of 1,000.
Yeah, and so I remember you guys always used to play these games, and then like I don't think I've ever played one, or maybe I might have borrowed one or something like that to like see like if your theory works. And I believe I got the 1,000, so I was like, okay.
See, there you go.
But that's
when thank me later.
That's when I was like, I don't really care about gamer score at all. But
yeah. Where probably this game is gonna live or die is. Well, I guess what I would like to see is some sort of system that they have for sorting people. Like I want this to be as separate as possible from like Harry, Ron, Hermione, Voldemort.
Oh, okay.
Like I want this to be like its own thing, like in a different. Maybe you can get away with it being like after the end of the Deathly Hallows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure when the Cursed Child thing is set.
Cursed Child.
Yeah, so they made, I think it was a book and then a play, or maybe it was a play first and then a book. It's called Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's like another story or whatever.
Okay, after.
I think it's after. I don't remember. It could be before.
Because I think the only thing I've ever known is the Fantastic Beasts, which came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I would want to see something where they have some sort of, like, literally like a questionnaire for you to be sorted, but your decision also factors. You know, like I want it to be. It's hard to say authentic because it's like a made-up universe, but like authentic to what we know as Harry Potter. And like from the books and the movies, and I don't know like what really the quest and stuff would be, because really the only thing that we've had is like tied to Voldemort and like House Slytherin basically.
Oh.
But yeah, and another like make or break point in this will be how the spells are implemented, like both like in how you use them and how like you fight with them, like like a battle will go.
Well, to answer. What I can come up with for the sorting hat is like decisions that you're making on your way towards the sorting hat. You know, when like you do the exact, like I said, like you go from the train all the way to the night where you do the sorting hat, where you're making certain decisions, and then that'll be able to put you in a certain category for the sorting hat, and where you're not choosing in a way. The combat, what I'm thinking is like a combo. You're like building, like you have to hit like a certain amount of whatever combination,
like inputs.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I don't want anything to do with like where you have to like you're hitting like you're circling the stick or something like that. Or
that's the way it was in the movie adaptation.
Yeah, so maybe you're hitting like like a certain amount of button combination, and then you're doing a certain, like, you have to hit the stick at a right point after you hit the like the combo, and then that's when like depending on like the power or something like that, I don't know, and then the timing. I think that would be interesting. But yeah, I think the timeline is gonna be weird. I think that's gonna be the most important thing, where it ends up, because that can make it break you. But I think Harry Potter's, I mean, it's pretty well known IP, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't be able to sell copies to people that don't even play games as often too. I think Harry Potter appeals to both genders, a variety of people of all ages, and this might get people to want to play video games a little bit more. I don't know. It just depends, because I think the consoles at the moment are pretty affordable for people. So if like someone for some reason, because I know
depends when this is released.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like, there's enough Harry Potter fans that don't even own consoles too, because like they're just reading or they just don't care as much. But if they hear like, oh man, there's this Harry Potter game that's really good, you could be like so and so or something like that. You know what I mean? You can curate this and like you can talk to Harry Potter and people are like, I want to play this. I think they've had like a couple phone games or something like that too. But I don't know how good those have been. But yeah, I think it has a lot of potential, honestly. Not that this is gonna make Harry Potter bigger than what it is, but it has a potential to do that. It'd be interesting to do a game like this in right after Harry Potter, but it'd also be interesting, like, if that's so successful, to do something back, like you go even before, like you play as what's his name from Fantastic Beasts. What's the main character's name?
I haven't seen any of those movies.
Oh,
or that one movie.
Yeah, because that's Jude Law, and then the other kid. It's not MacGyver. It's not Scrooge. It's a really cool name, but it'd be cool to play something related to him going into school, because he's kind of like in his early 20s, I guess, in the movies. It'd be interesting to go and grow up with him throughout school, and then you interact with Dumbledore at a younger age, while he's a professor at Hogwarts and stuff. It'd be interesting to see how that works.
I think if it had to be tied to like the current canon that we have, I think I would want it to be before Voldemort attacks, like before Voldemort kills Lily and James, but like when he was like rising to power, or like in power or whatever, like then, like leading up to like before Harry Potter basically, but like with like Lily and James and Severus and Sirius Black and like those people, but like before the kids that we know.
Yeah, I mean, you could even have it to where you grow up with Harry's parents, too.
Yeah,
go to school with them in a way. But I want to see some dark stuff in this game for sure. I want to see.
But you can't have that and have it appealing to like everyone and people that don't play games. And
yeah,
like
but I think
that.
Harry Potter, like when it started out, was all like pretty light, and then at the end it got pretty dark with a lot of not main characters, but a lot of characters you saw over the years pass away or get killed and whatnot. So I think it has to get like once you get to towards the end of the game, that's when it starts to get real. That's what I mean. But I mean, they can do something where. I mean, in my head, like I don't know how they're gonna work out the years you go there.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was just gonna say that.
Like, I don't know if that's a one game or you know what I mean. Like, who knows how far this game could go and how in depth it can be. But I'm pretty excited for this. I mean, I would hope this game is successful and is gonna be a polished product when it comes out, to where it kind of opens up the door for different type of movie IPs that have RPGs like this. But this is one I think it's a lot of people have not been wanting, but have been like, Harry Potter would, like, after seeing like Elder Scrolls and like Fallout, like Harry Potter would kind of do pretty good like in this kind of like setting or kind of play style. Like it seemed like it would work. And plus you have brooms and stuff to fly around in. That'd be crazy. But yeah.
Could play Quidditch.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be that was an online thing or something, like a mini game. That would be fun. I don't know how they're gonna I don't know how much time they're gonna invest in that, but that would be very entertaining. Like even as a game on its own, that would be pretty entertaining. It's like FIFA flying.
I don't know. It depends on how difficult they make it to catch the snitch.
Exactly, but yeah.
In any case, let us know what you guys think of the potential of a Harry Potter game. How you would like to see like the progression, what time period you want to see it set in, or like would you rather it be separate on its own, like make their own story?
I think it would be disappointing if they do like an alternate universe, but like with the Harry Potter kind of like stuff in it. That would suck.
Yes, that would be probably the worst thing they could do.
Yeah.
Besides just making it like set to the movie like timeline or like book timeline. Do you want to hit Pennsylvania Avenue or undrafted next?
Let's hit undrafted next.
Okay. So today for the National League and tomorrow for the American League is in baseball, Major League Baseball, is the wild card playoff games. So tonight is the Cubs hosting the Rockies. And tomorrow is the Yankees hosting the Athletics at Yankee Stadium.
It's not the Yankees. But we already said this.
The Yankees.
The Yankees.
Sorry.
The Yankees.
The Yankees, apparently. So obviously, the two. Both of those. Wait, did both those teams play one game? Oh no, it was the first game. So the first game Tuesday, which is at 5:00 Pacific, Tuesday, October 2nd. Both of these teams were the losers of Game 163 that was played yesterday. So both of them lost their respective divisions. Chicago has the better record, which is why they're hosting this one-game playoff. So yeah. So who do you think is going to win? Who would you want to win between the Cubs and the Rockies?
I haven't looked at the stretch of games that the I feel like it depends on momentum for baseball.
I would say that the Cubs have the least momentum.
Yeah, because yesterday too, like watching that game was a little depressing. But
because like the Cubs lost like 2 or 3 to the Cardinals to even like get into that position.
Yeah.
Like for the Brewers to catch them.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is like I think both of these teams are a little low in the sense that they both lost their games to not have to play this game. The Rockies are coming all the way from LA to Chicago too, which I mean it's kind of typical baseball travel, but it kind of sucks. I think in my eyes, I like the Cubs a little bit more. I mean on paper, I guess they're the better team. I don't know who's pitching.
They have a 4-game. That's what I'm trying to look up right now. So it is Freeland for the Freeland for the Rockies and John Lester for the Cubs.
Okay. I mean, this is a situation where John Lester is pretty good in. Freeland, I don't know his playoff experience at all, off the top of my head.
I'm gonna look up real quick, like his stats for the year.
Is this the first time the Rockies have been in the playoffs in a while, too?
I think they lost the playoff game a couple years ago.
Okay.
So Freeland is 17-7, 2.85 ERA this year. So not bad at all. 25, left-handed, just like John Lester is. What I would say is that I think the Rockies lineup is built to hit a lefty. John Lester obviously has experience in these big games. I think what's risky having Lester pitch is he's notorious for being unable to hold runners on base, because he has like a phobia of throwing over to first. So people tend to get a lot bigger leads and get really good jumps on him as far as stealing second base. So it's something that the Rockies might be able to take advantage of.
What was the matchup for the year for these teams?
I do not. You mean head to head?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I will try to find it.
Because not that that's important, but just interesting to look at. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, honestly, I think either of these teams have a decent amount of chance to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockies won, but I rather would have the Cubs. I think the Cubs are, nationally a little bit more. Well known, obviously. I mean, I would love to see the Rockies be successful, but just the Cubs, you know what I mean? Because I enjoyed the last year's series between the Dodgers and the Cubs, in the NLCS, right? Or DS?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, CS.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a one game elimination, so it's kind of like weird. You know what I mean? So it's like
the Cubs and the Rockies each won 3 games. They played each other 6 times and they won 3.
Okay, so I mean they're basically split.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to go with the Cubs on this one, just because.
I think I'm leaning Rockies. I think the Rockies have, despite losing to the Dodgers, and they got a little bit worked by the Dodgers. with like Bellinger and Jock Peterson both hitting big home runs in that one game playoff. But I think that like the week that they had leading up to the end of the regular season was a lot better for the Rockies. They had a lot of close games, a lot of like 2 or 3 games in like a week where there was like walk-off hits or home runs. So I just feel like the momentum is in their favor. The Cubs regressed back down kind of to the Brewers in order for the Brewers to catch them. They had kind of a rough week and a half leading up to the end of the season.
Yelich got pretty hot too.
And for me, like I know Lester, this game is going to come down to me how well John Lester pitches. Like if he's allowing base runners, I think that the Colorado Rockies are going to be able to take advantage of that. And like I said, I think that the Rockies have a little bit better of a lineup. Like bringing back Matt Holliday and Chris Iannetta, obviously Nolan Arenado, Blackman, who hits decently against lefties anyway, being like a lefty himself. I think that they're better equipped to go up against a lefty than the Cubs are. So I think I'm leaning Rockies, and I think the winner of this game actually gets the Brewers because the Cubs and the Brewers were tied for the best record at the end of the regular season. So they'll play the winner of this game plays a best of 5 against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Which is interesting because I think both these teams have a better record than the Braves.
It's probably close, but yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. Because I think the Braves only won 80 games. I believe. No, 90 games.
They'd be under 500. Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
I was going to say they'd be under 500. There's the Braves are 90 and 72.
Yeah, see 90 games. I got that. Missed
Which
by 10.
isn't really that bad. So moving on, Wednesday, October 3rd, they probably have not announced the start. Oh yeah, they have. Luis Severino going for, which is an interesting choice, I think, for the Yankees.
Yankees.
And Liam Hendricks pitching for the Oakland Athletics. This is going to be Wednesday night. Liam Hendricks, interesting. It shows 4.13 ERA. Not a lot of strikeouts for Liam Hendricks so far this season. For some reason, those stats don't seem right to me. It feels like that wasn't the right thing. Luis Severino, just 1 win shy of 20 this year. 20 is kind of like although wins are kind of a false, wins and losses are like kind of a false statistic anyway. Just ask Jacob deGrom. But Luis Severino, 3.39 ERA, 220 strikeouts. Had a really solid year for the Yankees. A little bit of injury, but been pitching well for the bulk of this season. This game's being played at Yankee Stadium. Who do you got? A's, Yankees.
What was the stretch of games real quick again?
I don't have that up, but I will look. The A's won 2 of 3 from the Angels. Swept the Mariners, I think. Let me pull this up right here. September. 2 of 3 from the Angels, 2 of 3 from the Mariners, 2 of 3 from the Twins, 2 of 3 from the Angels. So like they've been winning like the majority of the series for basically the last like 3 weeks.
But I mean, this really isn't a series. This is a one game.
This is a one-off game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The Yankees, I think, just recently took 2 or 3 from the Red Sox. Let me look at their schedule recently. They took 2 of 3 from the Red Sox, 3 of 4 from the Rays, 2 of 3 from the Orioles, 2 of 3 from the Red Sox again.
Okay.
Those. So both teams have like equal form going into this.
Okay, that's even worse. I want to say the A's, but I think the Yankees. Just because I think they have the ability to be that. Well, they have the home run stadium, and then
they play in a matchbox. That's their first advantage.
But if the A's can be pretty strategic, I think they can be able to shut down the lineup. But it just depends. Who's the A's ace? It's not Hendricks, obviously.
They have Brett Anderson. They have Sean Manaea. There's a righty that both those guys are lefties, and there's a righty that I'm forgetting. I don't remember.
Cause I think we saw him once when we went to one of the games, but I don't know. I'm probably gonna say Yankees in this one. I mean, both teams are pretty even in form, and then they're, what are you looking at?
I was looking at the old stat lines to see like who the other starting pitchers were because I'm blanking.
Okay.
Liam Hendricks. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna go Yankees.
Trevino, you're going Yankees.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the A's, only because they have Edwin Jackson as well. I'm gonna go with the A's only because I think that they don't have any pressure on them really. They weren't supposed to be here. They had the lowest opening day payroll of any team in the league this year, and like here they are with a 97 win season, and that 97 win season came in the most difficult division in baseball, in my opinion, with the Mariners, the Astros, the Angels, and the Rangers were have the best record of all the last place teams in the league. So the A's got 97 wins in what on paper is the most difficult division in baseball. And like I said, I just don't feel like they have any pressure on them. I think that even though they're going up against Luis Severino, who is definitely an excellent pitcher, the Yankees are the ones with everything to lose here.
Argument.
Like they're playing at home. The Yankees were really unlucky this season. I think that the Red Sox did as well as they did because, I mean, like the Yankees are. I was joking about it. We haven't really talked about baseball too much, especially since we switched to this new format for our podcast. But I was joking earlier on in the season that, like, watch the Yankees win 100 games and end up in the wild card. And, like, here they are. Like, they're 100 and their record is 162. And
162?
100 wins, 62 losses. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
They won every game.
The record, 100 wins, 62 losses. And here they are in, like, a one-off game. Obviously, the pressure's always higher just because it's New York, and there's ever since the Steinbrenners have been there, like, they just have an expectation for winning. And like I said, the A's weren't supposed to be here. The A's were supposed to be, like, bottom of the American League or, like, at best middle of the American League.
Yeah.
And not, like, challenging the Astros like they were up until the last couple weeks of the season.
Or even, like, overreaching over the Mariners.
Yeah, like running down the Mariners. The Mariners kind of fell away towards, like, the last month of the season. And then, like, they caught the Astros with, like, I think 2 or 3 weeks left in the season. And they were even for a little bit, and then the Astros kind of ran away with it again. So, yeah, I just think the A's are going to go out there with nothing to lose. If they lose this game, like, no one's going to think less of them. Like, this is still an incredible season for the A's. The winner of this game goes to Houston. Oh, no, sorry. The winner of this game goes to Boston. So, I mean, I would like to see, like, that 5-game series with the Yankees and the Red Sox. But I feel like this is the A's year. Not that I necessarily think they're going to go on and win the World Series from this game, but, like, I just feel like they have a little bit of luck on their side, and they can afford to play fearlessly. Okay. So I'm going to go with the Oakland A's on this one.
I mean, yeah, you made a good argument, but I don't know. Well, like I said, these one-off games are just, like, weird for baseball because it's usually a series. It's you can have a different team show up that night from what you've had in the season, so it's kind of like throwing the ball up in the air and seeing who catches it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what's different from this game than from the Cubs-Rockies game is that both of these teams, both of them knew that they were going to be there wasn't the contention that there was in the National League. So, like, the Yankees knew they were going to finish second to the Red Sox and that they were going to host the wild card game. And then, like, with as much as a couple weeks left in the season, the A's knew that they were going to finish second to the Astros and they weren't going to catch the Yankees, barring, like, any disaster. So, like, basically we've known that this is going to be the game for, like, at least the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so both of the teams have been able to kind of prepare for this as far as, like, kind of shaping their staff to, like, get the starting pitcher that they want for this one game, having the opportunity to rest some people, especially I would say the A's and to some extent the Yankees, because they were playing the Red Sox, but the Red Sox had already clinched, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But, like, the A's finishing with, like, the Mariners, the Angels, the Rays, like, teams that were out, being able to rotate a little bit, give guys some rest. Whereas like on the National League side, they were playing right up to the death, and then like both of these teams that are playing in this wild card game just played in another one-off game to determine like who was even going to be seated where in the playoffs. So like they didn't really have the time to prepare for this that the Yankees and the Yankees and the A's have had. So like there's a little bit of like just completely different circumstances between those two.
Yeah.
But hopefully both of them are really great games. I was a little bit disappointed by the Dodgers-Rockies game. But the Brewers-Cubs, because I did want very badly that I want the Dodgers to lose, just because I wanted to laugh at them after having traded for Manny Machado and then not making the playoffs. And Dozier, yeah. But Walker Buehler pitched an incredible game in that, so I mean, fair play to them. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we get 2 good games that are like good for baseball, good for like marketing and just like getting eyeballs on the game.
Yeah. What's it called? I don't know what Matt does, Alyssa's husband, but I'm not an accountant, but like bank account person or whatever you want to call it. Bueller, goes to his bank.
Oh.
Did I say that right? Yeah, I said his name right.
Walker Buehler.
Yeah, Walker Buehler. Yeah. I was like, okay, can I give you my rookie cards so you can sign them? But I don't know. I haven't talked to him since. But yeah, that was weird. Weird fact.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, go
ahead.
Jinx,
I was gonna say, let us know what you guys think. Who's gonna win these games? Who's gonna lose these games? And then we'll get into some more playoffs. So yeah, dude, baseball playoffs are back, man. Jeez.
I think this has the potential to be one of the better playoff years that there's been.
I thought last year was pretty spot on.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, I
think
that
like the Yankees and Astros, and the CS, and then the Dodgers, Cubs. It was just perfect combo.
It was. So that moves us into our final, somewhat quick probably, topic, which is just going to be, it's a Pennsylvania Avenue segment, but we're really just going to hit our This Week in History.
This week
and then we're
going to
get out of here. So This Week in History covers October 2nd, Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, through Monday, October 9th, and I lost my spot here. There it is. Okay. So, actually, I did write in also October 1st, so I'll actually start there. Monday, October 1st through Monday, October 8th.
Okay.
So we'll start. So since we're recording on Tuesdays now, I'll go from Tuesday to Wednesday every week.
Oh.
So, are you ready?
Are you ready?
October 1st, 331 BC. Way back when.
300 happened? No, I'm just kidding.
No, that is not what happened. Alexander the Great conquers the Persian Empire.
Oh, that was kind of close.
Or like finishing. Oh, yeah, I guess kind of.
The Persian Empire. Yeah. Yeah, because he worked his way into India, and then that's when all hell broke loose, and then I think he got sick after that, right? But
he was poisoned.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then I think he married someone in Persia too. He probably had like a bunch of wives, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure whether or not he did.
I just know that from the movie, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Fast forward 2,200 years, October 1st, 1908. The Model T hits the public market. You can go buy yourself a Model T Ford.
Yeah, because not too long ago we talked about it being
the assembly line starting.
The assembly line started. I saw a documentary like on the different people that worked on those cars, and like the Dodge brothers working on either it was the brakes or this power steering or something like that, and then eventually they're moving on to start Dodge.
Yeah.
But yeah.
October 1st, 1942. The German army is halted at the Battle of Stalingrad. Kind of like really where the German push into Russia kind of fell apart. This Battle of Stalingrad lasted like a whole year. It's a really interesting story. The Germans had like a crazy time trying to get in. Then like the Russians let them in and like let them take Stalingrad, and then like siege their own city, like completely like flipped the circumstances around. German army had a whole bunch of problem with supply into Russia. It was a very brutal time, like going through like the winter there.
What was another thing too? Because like they tried to do blitzkrieg on the Eastern Front and didn't really work out so well because
they got super bogged down over there.
Yeah, because their supply lines got basically cut.
Yeah,
and then especially getting surrounded. I think one of the those pictures I was showing you, one of the not that I'm like glorifying death or anything like that, but one of them had like a whole just row of an aftermath of a battle at Stalingrad, which was interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
October 1st, 1946. The Nuremberg trials conclude with 11 people being sentenced to death. Obviously, the Nuremberg trials were held for very high-ranking members of the Nazi Party in Germany following the war, in response to all the like concentration camps and stuff like that were going on throughout, primarily Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the guys that were in charge for sure. There's a lot of people under them that definitely got away.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then that we actually, I mean, I'm taking a history class right now on 1945 and after, and I'm not too sure how much it is true because I'm pretty skeptical about a lot of stuff in this class, but we definitely were in contact with some of the guys that got away like way later on, through them in South America and then using them to help us out in South America, like after they established themselves and whatnot. And some of them weren't even known as like Nazi, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was interesting. I don't know, to learn about some of that stuff. And we actually use a lot of their interrogation tactics that they developed in those Holocaust camps, unfortunately, that we used on basically the Cold War, which was interesting.
I did not know that. Okay. October 1st, 1949, Mao Zedong founds the People's Republic of China. That was like once the Communist Party in China had like taken over, there was a big kind of civil war. There was a lot of warring. They were called warlords, I think, and Mao Zedong was
one of them.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, it's like interesting to see because like how we went in and helped China out. I know a lot of those Southeast Asian countries, like the Vietnam, like set up to that war and whatnot, where we aided Ho Chi Minh and kind of he was like our ally in the war against Japan during the time, and it was just weird how like all that stuff ended up happening. But China specifically is like an interesting because I think that collapse happened where a lot of people, or I've read a couple books on the predicted collapse of the Chinese government in the future. It would be the interior of the country kind of rebelling. I think just like how the Mao came into power, and then taking over the coastal cities that have most of the power most of the time, I guess, historically, basically, is what I've read. Yeah.
October 1st, 1979, the United States returns sovereignty to Panama, so Panama becomes once again an independent country.
Panama. Boom, boom. Yeah, cutting off so you don't have to go down to what's it called? Cape Horn? No, yeah. Cape Horn's on the other side. There's Africa, right? Cape Cod. No.
Cape Cod is in Massachusetts.
Okay. Cape whatever. You know what I mean? The one where Argentina and Chile is, right? Or is it Chile at the end, or I don't know.
It's Argentina at the end.
But yeah, so it cuts off that.
I think it is Cape Horn, isn't it?
Yeah, Cape Horn. I felt like Cape Horn, South Africa.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I should know that, but I don't.
Just like, it's interesting how important some of those...
Do you have a map around here somewhere?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I want to get one, but it's weird how like important those canals are, because the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, what's it called? It's the oil pipeline that they used in Iran or in Iraq to ship oil to like Europe. I think it's called like Horn something. Like how important like those strategic spots are.
Yeah. October 2nd, 1869, Gandhi is born in India.
1909?
1869.
1869?
69, yeah.
Wow, dude, how old was he during all that? Because all that rebellion happened after World War II, right? From what I remember, it wasn't World War One.
It was between the wars, I think.
Was it in the 30s? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, because like if it was after World War II, then I'm thinking like, damn, dude, that dude was old. Like if he was born in '69,
Well, he would have been 31 in 1900.
Yeah, but I meant like, because if it would have happened after World War One, he's in his like 50s.
Yeah,
but
at
if
least.
it happened, probably happened in the 30s, if anything.
Yeah.
Double check that.
October 2nd, 1870, the Papal States voted in favor of a union with Italy, and the capital of Italy became Rome instead of. I should have written it down, but I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Florence.
What was the year of that?
1870. So basically, like, Italy became a country, the country as we know it now, in 1870.
Yeah, because good old Empire, Total War. The Papal States that you couldn't play as.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're very difficult. And then you had there's an island off of south of Italy. Or it's like in between. It's right in the middle of the Mediterranean, I think. St. John's.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just thinking of like that because it had like a similar kind of like Roman Catholic thing. But yeah, but like the Vatican is like its own state though.
It still is now. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it was technically part of the Papal State. But
Yeah. October 2nd, 1950, the Peanuts comic strip makes its first appearance.
Peanuts.
It's good old Charlie Brown and Snoopy and all them.
What was
And Lucy and Lionel.
What was his catch for like oh grief?
Good grief.
Good grief. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you say all the time.
I do say that all the time. October 3rd, 1906, SOS is officially adopted as like the universal like warning signal.
1906.
1906.
Wow.
It was this happened at the World Telegraph Convention, if I remember correctly when I was making these notes.
Was it? Did they still?
It was in Paris, I think.
Convention?
No, I don't think so.
Everything always happens in Paris, apparently.
It's like a world hub.
I guess. Sure.
October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany formally become one nation.
Under God. Sorry.
Sure, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Thus far, they've been indivisible.
What month did it happen in?
What month?
Yeah.
October.
Oh wait, Jesus, my God. This would have been like right after the World Cup, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so where West Germany would have won the World Cup and then they united right after
I guess so.
Yeah. Sorry. Interesting.
October 4th, 1822, former President Rutherford B. Hayes is born. I forgot to write down the number. I should have written down the number. I think when I wrote this, I was assuming that I was going to be like speaking it like not that long later and I was going to remember, but I don't.
He was born in
1822.
Okay. Sorry. I'm like.
So he's probably in like the early 20s as far as number of presidents.
He's 6 years older than FDR's dad.
The fact that you know that.
Well, it's just interesting when I was looking through that, but he was because we were in that one chat and he was doing like every president all the way up.
Oh yeah.
I forgot what the facts were. It was either him or I think it was starts with an E. Not Elmore, no. Fillmore. Yeah, him and it was one of those two guys.
Millard Fillmore.
They were like drunks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
October 4th, 1957, Sputnik 1, which was the first ever manned satellite, was launched into space by the Russians. The Ruskies.
I wouldn't say that's the day the space race started. It was probably started
got the ball rolling,
in the mainstream media. Like Von Braun was working with just building rockets for like the military. They weren't like NASA wasn't formed yet, obviously, but that was like his goal to be able to start working on that.
Yeah.
But that was because of because they brought him over for like, hey, can you put a nuke on that thing? And then like they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And basically that's what happened. But then he got the opportunity to do that. There's a really cool picture of him I want to get to, because you know how there was that stupid conspiracy theory of like the us not going to the moon and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's like a set where like it looks exactly like the how the moon was shot and everything, but it has him like walking like off the set, which looks pretty cool. I just like the picture. It just seemed like very powerful because like he's the reason why we went to space. But yeah.
October 4th, 1976, Supreme Court case Gregg versus Georgia, which I believe is the state of Georgia. And the Supreme Court reinstates the death penalty as puts it back on the table.
Okay.
And it was the first time, I believe it was 23 years that there weren't any executions, and there was another one 3 months after this.
So in the state of Georgia or in the country?
Federally.
Federally. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Since then, states have made their own laws determining whether or not there is a death penalty.
Did you
But it was a federal thing that there wasn't.
What was the crime? It was obviously murder. Probably.
It was murder. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you know there's no details on that?
There wouldn't have been much from where I got this.
And then the guy was Greg?
Probably.
Okay.
Yes.
Just asking. Context.
18... Oh, wait, sorry. That's the next line. I already read that one. October 5th, 1789 was the March on Versailles. One of the things that kind of kick-started the French Revolution. It was, if I remember correctly, basically a whole bunch of women. It was like a bread march, among other things, but they didn't have any food or anything like that. So it was a march on Versailles, which is the King's Palace in France.
Yeah. I think, Napoleon was in, because we talked about another thing in France that was in Paris, I believe, or some kind of thing where they killed the king. It was a year later. I think it might have been 1790, maybe that would have happened.
Okay.
Napoleon was there in the town because I remember reading something about him describing all this stuff, which was interesting because he just happened to be in town. But yeah.
October 5th, 1830, another former president, Chester A. Arthur, is born. Again, I should have written down the numbers, but I didn't what number president they were. But
yeah, I don't know.
Again, probably another mid-20s, 20 to 25, somewhere in there.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah.
But which number president? Just based on when they were born.
He would have been after Lincoln. Him and
right.
Hayward.
So he would have only been 30, say, when Lincoln was president. Lincoln was 16. So
yeah.
Probably in the mid-20s.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. No, Lincoln was 16, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
October 5th, 1947. Truman delivers the very first televised White House address to the American public. Kind of a big deal, I guess. Although it's something that happens all the time now, so maybe I guess we take it for granted. But yeah, the very first time that a lot of America saw President Truman live.
Yeah, or not in a photo.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you got to watch him in person before, if you watched the president before this, you probably just lived on the East Coast. I know FDR. There was another picture I showed where he was in Yosemite. So some of them made their trips over, but you really had to make the effort to go and see them. It was interesting. I just watched the end of the Pacific, the HBO miniseries, and at the very last episode, they talked about buying TVs in 1945, I believe. I don't think it was 46, maybe. And how it was weird to buy to go and buy a TV, and I was but the next decade, basically everyone had one TV in their house, so it was kind of weird because I don't think there would the amount of people that probably watched that. I mean, per TV was probably the ratings probably weren't high, but they probably that would have been the start of the time where you were everyone was in the room watching something together instead of what we have now where everyone has a TV in the room, but you know what I mean. But yeah. Interesting.
October 6th, 1973, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Jordan simultaneously attack Israel in what has been known as the Yom Kippur War. So they were attacked. Yom Kippur obviously is a Israeli holiday.
Oh, Jewish. I think it's a Jewish holiday.
Jewish holiday, yeah, Israeli Jewish. I guess you don't have to be a Jew to be Israeli, but 99% of them are.
Yeah, it was interesting to see because I'm taking a Middle East class, and I think the other name for this is 6 Day War. It was interesting because learning about this was how unorganized the Arab states were in all these battles and how like terrible they did. I think Egypt was like the only one that kind of had some kind of say in this, because I think I watched something like not a really long time ago, but not too long ago about this, and like how they got, it was basically a Russian technology versus U.S. technology almost in a way. But I think the Israeli tanks are like Israeli made, but the Egyptians had these but these kind of innovative rocket controlled missiles that they would shoot at the tanks, and that's how they would take the tanks out. And that's something that they didn't have in the previous conflict that I think it was in like the 50s maybe or the 40s, where again like similar to this, but then Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and
they like doubled the size of their land basically.
Yeah, and then strategic. I mean, the Sinai Peninsula was very lucrative in oil, and then you also got the Suez Canal out of that as well. And then we wouldn't see this all resolved until later on during Carter's administration, where they signed the peace treaty to basically. Before this, no one recognized in the Middle East basically at all the recognition of Israel, and out of the deal, they gave back the Sinai, and then I believe the Golan Heights.
They gave I think everything but the West Bank.
Yeah, everything but the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and in exchange basically for recognition from the other states. But it was interesting too, because like the Arab states weren't technically together, but they were like on paper, like when you look at it, like in like the general look at it, but it was kind of them like saying like, oh no, we're the better Arabs in a way, from what I've learned. So it wasn't like something interesting. And also like I think Jordan didn't even have they basically didn't even send like their best troops there. It was interesting, like not everyone sent like their they kind of like showed up with like militia forces, unfortunately. But yeah,
there was my dad was in the Air Force during this time. I think this is the war that he was talking about when he used to tell me this. He was stationed at Luke Air Force Base Nellis.
Okay.
In Vegas, yeah. And they were, when like this broke out, like he was there. They were like stripping the U.S. Emblems and Air Force stuff off of the F-4 Phantoms and flying them to Israel.
Yeah, because we helped them out with air support, I believe, during this.
Yeah, but they couldn't have U.S. markings on them. So
Yeah,
like
I think
all that stuff was taken off.
That, and I think even the British had a hand in this too, because I mean the British prior to this were there controlling the region really up until after the World War II, when they kind of just were really fatigued and kind of just were not into it and just said like, "Yo, figure this out yourself," and that's what really happened. Like I'll go like the thing I showed you, the Skype's Peacock agreement, and going back to the mandates from the UN and all the resolutions. It's something that still hasn't been settled today, and it's that it's already been like 100 years since all that stuff it kind of was brewing when they allowed Jewish people to go back to Israel and stuff.
Moving on, October 7th. 1885, Niels Bohr is born. He's basically like the godfather of like quantum physics. He really pioneered research into like atoms and electrons and protons, and like their nature, how they behave, how they interact with each other. He was really like the leading scientist, physicist, whatever you want to call it, into like those fields for the time. Made a lot of like super important discoveries. Like the Bohr model of the atom is like still, obviously it's like very, I don't know that primitive is the right word, but it was like a very simplistic model because they didn't have really like the technology to like really get into what was going on there, but like they were starting to take those first steps.
Yeah. What year was this? 1885. 1885. Yeah.
He was born in 1885.
Oh, he was born in 18. Yeah. Because there was a guy I want to say he was born in the 1800s too. I forgot his first name, but it was Rutherford, and that guy was basically like the first domino towards us with the nuclear weapon. And it was just interesting how he was Australian or no New Zealand. So he was a Kiwi, I believe. I'm pretty sure. And how he ended up at I think it was Oxford, and then that whole interaction with him. I think Bohr was part of like the people that he interacted with. Obviously, I think I'm not. I want to say he was older than Bohr, but I would have to double check because I was reading a book called "The Making of the Atomic Bomb," and Bohr was like in the first like 2 chapters, even though that book is like godly. It's so boring, but it's there's a lot of interesting stuff you can pull out of that. But yeah.
October 7th, 1949, the German Democratic Republic is formed, which is the communist name for East Germany.
Yay, East Germany, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's really funny, well, funny sounds the right word, but interesting, I guess, is you can still tell. So like in August, or I guess now 2 Augusts ago, so like 14 months ago, I was in Germany. And you can tell, even like East and West Berlin, like you can tell what side of the wall you were on by just like the architecture around. Like the east half of the city is very
flimsy.
No, just like the buildings are very plain.
Okay.
Boxes. There's like no fancy architecture really or anything like that. Like all the streets are like all the intersections and things are like all in like blocks, like very, very well organized. There's not a lot of like variety throughout like the whole city. It's basically like a cookie cutter like town. And then like West Germany is very much like a mega city. Like, I mean, it's got all sorts of things, all different types of architecture and time period stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. It's like you can still very much tell the difference between the two. It's kind of interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Our last day, October 8th, 1871, was the start of what is known as the Great Chicago Fire. There was 17,450 buildings that burned down. 98,500 people lost their homes, and surprisingly, I guess, only 250 people died.
That's a good thing, I guess,
considering how many like buildings went down and all that stuff. So the fire burned for almost 48 hours, destroyed over a third of the city.
Yeah, because we didn't have technology to like.
There was probably still just like pails and.
Yeah, like we didn't have like water pressure to like be able to do that stuff. That and I think San Francisco had a fire around this time too, right?
I think it was later. I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was the Great Earthquake that was in the early 1900s.
But there was still like a
there was, and London had one too.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And then last but not least, October 8th, 1919, the Volstead Prohibition Enforcement Act. Starting basically the beginning of Prohibition.
Oh, okay.
Was passed by Congress in 1919.
Very
controversial. Even now, probably, but like especially at the time. And it was kind of, I feel like, although one of those laws that was like on the books, but no one really cared that it was on the books. I kind of feel like life kind of just went on, except for obviously like they had to be a little bit more secretive about it with like the speakeasies and stuff like that. But
yeah, it was interesting because
I don't think it really changed culture too much.
A lot of tools were used to build that up. Obviously, like the women's kind of movement, like the suffrage movement, kind of had an impact on this because a lot of women were being abused, unfortunately, and a lot of them it was kind of used as like a political tool. From reading, also it was interesting on how they used not this was probably not the first time, but like it kind of was like a big time for using immigration against it as well. A lot of people were because like the bars at the time before this were like spots where people would just go and then people would get hammered, obviously, and then you would have trouble in the streets. So a lot of people would like point out like the different like European like bars or whatnot that would people go to, and then they would have trouble and whatnot. Another weird thing too from this is that how impactful it was, and I think it's up until I don't want to say the 90s, but up until like 75 maybe, where South Carolina did have like a lot of prohibition kind of stuff going on, and you still see it today where there's a lot of dry cities where you're not even allowed to have alcohol there, and that's from the prohibition, which is interesting to like Like we're still like that law still has a lot, or has really standed to the test of time in certain areas, which is interesting. But the funny thing too, what you said about the speakeasies was learning about, because Wilson was under this, and his wife was kind of a person that was very supportive of this, and especially because at the end of his presidency, he was kind of almost incompassible or whatever you want to talk about. Like his health was like basically declining, but how him and like the next president and a lot of people in high office basically stocked up on liquor before this law because it wasn't illegal. It was illegal to sell and buy. It wasn't illegal to have. So as long as like people had like cellars just full of stuff, like they're like, I guess this is it, guys. This is all we can get. But yeah, it's interesting because that's where like organized crime. So basically, not the birth of organized crime, because I think organized crime has always been around, but like that was when it kind of reached a level to where it kind of led itself after, with like the mob and whatnot, and what you see today in kind of dealing with like illegal substances, I guess, and it was just an interesting time. I think it would have been weird to have lived during that time, but one of the coolest things too was learning about how the breweries that got to be able to start to make that stuff, because it wasn't like a nationwide thing where once prohibition went away, I think it was a state by state thing. They put it back into law, and how Budweiser had a bunch of like they do today, a bunch of breweries around the world. And I think L.A. was like one of the first ones they did, and then I remember learning about a story of like a father and a son. The father used to work at the brewery, but then obviously like the son before this time wasn't 21, and then was 21 or something, the drinking age basically, and like how they went and like, you want to go see like the first like wagon to go like deliver beer, and like he was like, yeah, let's go do that, and like that was like an exciting thing to see, and how like it's like watching like an old factory start up, and like to bring kind of like jobs back into. That was another thing too, is like it brought a lot of jobs back because I don't think the law ended like it ended during the Depression. Mm-hmm. So that was a good thing for them to bring back all those jobs. Sorry, I'm on a rant for that. This is all the stuff I knew through that was dealt with this kind of stuff.
The one interesting, you were talking about how like some areas like it still has lasted like to this day. There was a thing I saw, I think it's probably been 5 or 6 years, but it was a bar, and it was a picture of the inside of this bar, and the bar was built on the state line. And so like the state line passes through the bar, and so there was like sorry, not state line. I think it was city line. I don't think it was state line. But in one of those two towns, you couldn't have alcohol. So you could only drink, like you could go to the bar and drink, but you could only drink in one half of the room. Because I keep saying state line because like the line went through the middle of the bar.
So you just basically come to the other side, like, all right, you guys want to go drink? All right, we got to go down to Tustin, and then like we're on the Tustin Santa Ana right there. That's kind of funny. It's interesting. Yeah, prohibition's it's a weird thing that happened to the United States, because I don't know if that happened anywhere else in the world like that I can think of. I know there were suffrage movements going on like around the world, but like nothing to where like it like, or movements like that happened where like it actually like made way.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyway,
I guess thank you FDR for counseling that.
Yeah,
he was like
it was an amendment. It was a constitutional amendment, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was under his administration where he pushed it to do that, and then he was delivered the first case of beer as well, I believe, from Budweiser. I don't think he drank it, but maybe.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got? You sure?
Yep.
Okay. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and share this with all your invisible friends that love us. That has been the show. This has been the show where we explain mid-stroke of watching the Harry Potter thing, and we didn't get to finish because we didn't get to watch the video, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I was like, where are you going with this?
Yeah, mid-stroke, dude. We were like mid-stroke until we were like, oh man, what am I supposed to watch now, dude? Fuck. Oh, sorry, I cursed.
Made it all the way to the very end.
Oh, but yes, I have been the host, Rich Radio, joined by the man with the noggin, Jacob Bullard. We will see you guys next time. Go ahead and check out all our other videos and podcasts and all the cool stuff that was going to be coming out. I'm still working on that goddamn history video on World War II, but it's all good. I should have time this week to work on that. But anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.